The unthinkable has happened. That is not to say that Sri Lanka beating Afghanistan is unthinkable, but the fact that Sri Lanka have finally won in Cardiff. Remember, before this, they'd played 5 ODIs, 1 test match, and never won on this ground, Sophia Gardens in Cardiff, but now have registered their first victory, that coming versus Afghanistan. Now, remember, Sri Lanka were batting first. 201 is all that they managed, were all out. A reduced target of 187 is what was set to Afghanistan based on the Duckworth-Lewis system, and Afghanistan falling short by 34 runs. Some good performances there from the Sri Lankan fast bowlers. Nuwan Pradeep, the first man that comes to mind with his outstanding spell there, picking up 4 wickets, giving away just 31 runs, and then the old warhorse Lasith Malinga taking 3 wickets, giving away just 39 runs. Very warm welcome to all of you watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. I'm Nikhil Naz. With me, Daren Ganga, Ajit Agarkar. We'll also cut across to T Dilshan, but first up, big congratulations to Ganga here, because on 2 counts. First, when they were 180 odd, you said it's going to be a bit of a problem. Sri Lanka could fight back. And secondly, sticking with your prediction, even though they had lost the toss. Well done.
And I did so because this Sri Lankan bowling lineup with Lasith Malinga is a challenging bowling lineup, especially to a team like Afghanistan with, in my estimation, thin batting, you would say. The conditions helpful to Sri Lanka as well in terms of bowling in the evening, and then we saw the artificial lights coming on. Usually when artificial lights come on, it gives a little bit of assistance to the fast bowlers, a little more zip off the pitch, maybe a little bit of lateral movement extra. But again, kind of scrappy in terms of Sri Lankan feeling. There were opportunities they didn't take, but in the end, they would be pleased to cross the line and pick up 2 points.
All right, let's go across to the happiest man on our panel at the moment. T Dilshan now joins us live from Sri Lanka. Dilshan, I'll talk about the star for Sri Lanka. That is Nuwan Pradeep. I remember speaking to you a day before the match with your 11. You were not quite keen to have Pradeep in your team, but now happy to be proven wrong with the performance that he showed.
I think he's one of the best bowler, but thing is, when earlier where he's going with the fixed 11, thing is Suranga Lakmal and Lasith Malinga is the most experienced bowlers we have. But today they planning to play 5 seamers. I think that's why Nuwan Pradeep get a chance. I think he's full credit to Nuwan Pradeep. Both hands he's take this opportunity and perform to Sri Lanka is one of the we wanted to win this match. I think he's done really good today. He's the man today. I think he bowled really well after Lasith and Suranga not start well, but when he came to the bowling, is we feel different. His pace, bounce, he bowled right length. I think that's a difference.
Right, inspired selection there by Sri Lanka, bringing in Pradeep at the last moment. That extra pace, don't think the Afghanistan batsmen are quite used to facing that sort of deliveries. That is what undid them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I don't think they are used to these conditions, or they don't have the necessarily quality to maybe survive in these conditions. I think you saw some of the bowling was good. They got off to a bit of a start, a brisk start. Took some chances early on, but after that you could see the shortcomings in their game. Such alien conditions. I don't think they play anywhere close to these conditions that you got tonight under lights as well for a major part of that innings. And Sri Lanka showed, that which is the more experienced team when it counted. I think 187 didn't look a big score, but Sri Lanka made it count. I think once they got that first wicket. You always felt that if they bowled well enough, it was always going to be a bit difficult. I think Afghanistan showed a bit of fight with that partnership, but not enough in that batting. I think in these conditions they were found wanting.
An extension to the point that Ajit makes, I mean, you are going to think, then why not bring in someone like an Asghar Afghan? If batting is your problem, if these are the conditions that you really can't face, because you haven't had the experience so far, why won't you strengthen that?
Well, I've been clamoring for that change, to bring a specialist batsman and somebody with experience who might be able to add a little more teeth to this Afghanistan batting. I suggested Asghar Afghan, the former captain, because of his experience. He would have been vital in this run chase had they had him. But the other thing you're seeing is with Mujibur Rahman, you're seeing that he's not being used for his full complement of overs.
Yep.
and I just feel that there's a lot of bowling options in this Afghan team that they can turn to, and they're just not using that capacity that they have. So maybe it's something that they can consider. They have a lot of faith in this young off-spinner. He's a quality player, but I feel this team could be more competitive if they make the right decisions with regard to their 11.
I'm going to stay with that Mujibur Rahman point. One, he says that you're not using him for the full quota. I'm just looking at his figures, 8 overs that he's bowled in the 2 matches so far, given away 64 runs at an economy of 8. So even with the ball, it's not happening for him.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it. Maybe the left-handers played a part in it today with the Sri Lankan left-handers, and that's why they went for him. Also, just being the second game, they didn't want to make changes again. But it clearly shows, I think, they need some extra sort of, help in their batting, if you'd like. Again, depends on what conditions they get in that next game. But there is going to be some movement on offer, and this batting clearly is not equipped if there is some movement on offer. On good pitches, where it eventually, gets a little bit slower as the game progresses, they're a good enough team. But if, like Daren says, maybe if they have enough in their bowling, and they've not bowled particularly well either. I mean, tells you that this pitch had a lot more in it if you bowl better to restrict Sri Lanka. That partnership was a big one that Sri Lanka had the first 2 wickets. So, so there's all-round improvement needed in the game, especially in these conditions. I think in subcontinental conditions, they know what their team can do, or they have a pattern of playing. Maybe there's a different way of looking at it in these conditions.
All right, we're talking about the fast bowlers for Sri Lanka. Nuwan Pradeep, of course, the standout with 4 wickets. But then Lasith Malinga also picking up 3 wickets. I'll go across to Dilshan now. Remember, we were talking about it before this match started. Malinga speaking to the team, actually firing up the boys, saying you need to perform. He's leading from the front. We saw a bit of fire, and we looked like, it was the Lasith Malinga of old with that pace that he was bowling. And it really paid dividends in the end.
I think he's really start well in the new ball, but we know how dangerous when you come to the tail enders, especially the last few overs. I think he used experience again against tail enders, bowl short balls, slow balls. He really mixed up with last, especially a second spell. I think Lasith, if he can come back to his normal rhythm, I think it's very good for the Sri Lankan side. But I saw last few overs he bowled all the slow balls, bounces and Yorkers is on the spot. I think that's a good thing for Sri Lanka. I think he used his experience this game. If he can carry this form to the next couple of games, I think really good for the Sri Lankan side.
It clearly shows, Daren, that particular loss hurt Lasith Malinga personally. One, the comment that he made. The other, I'm just looking at his celebration, getting those Afghan batsmen out. He's got, the likes of Ricky Ponting, Sachin Tendulkar in his career, but never can I remember him celebrating the way he was doing in this game. Clearly meant a lot to him.
What about his gesticulation when Tisara Pereira got run out as well? He was frustrated. But I think what he has done as well in this effort, he has shown the other teams that bowling the full fast pitch delivery at the back end of a 50-over innings is still very effective. We know Lasith Malinga and how he uses the Yorker to good effect. Today, again, the Yorker proving to be the trump card, something that we've not seen from some of the teams in this World Cup. When you look at South Africa and their bowling in the back end of the innings, they're opting for variation, for short deliveries. Even England, to a lesser extent, in that encounter against Pakistan, they didn't bowl too well in that third power play. So I still feel that many teams could learn from Lasith Malinga and this Sri Lankan approach in the back end of a 50-over innings. That Yorker delivery is still a very effective ball in white ball cricket when you're trying to contain and restrict opposition teams.
All right, completely running out of time. We just have to take a little bit of a glimpse into the two games that are coming up. We'll talk about South Africa and India. Ajit, we'll start with you. How do you see that game panning out, especially with Steyn out, Lungi Ngidi injured for South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, South Africa has played a couple of games, so they've a little bit more battle-hardened, if you like, although bad results. India playing the first one, so India will be a little bit nervy. You'd expect India to play well, though. I mean, on paper, India is the better team. If they turn up and have the best performance, they should win.
All right. Quick word on the Bangladesh game as well.
Bangladesh, I think, on a high. But New Zealand, I think they have the mental aptitude to deal with this Bangladesh team, an informed Bangladesh team. So I would say a slight advantage, New Zealand against Bangladesh.
All right, slight advantage to Bangladesh. That'd be an interesting game as we were talking about that particular match. Whoever wins that encounter would probably, or not probably, will be the first team to win 2 matches in this World Cup. Let's now cut across to the presentation there at Cardiff. All right, we could still stay on with our digital audience, no time restrictions here. Let's just go back to that partnership. We saw Karunaratne and Pereira to start off the things. Do you think that was the big difference? Could Afghanistan have done something different? Because had that partnership not been there, it would have been a much closer encounter.
Yeah, I think what we've seen in terms of previous matches, we've seen teams when they put together good partnerships at the top of the innings, it always leads to very good totals being set. In this instance, I think the effectiveness of Mohammad Nabi in the middle overs prevented this Sri Lankan team from capitalizing on the first 2 partnerships they received in this innings. What they showed they had the technical capability to deal with the moving ball. They didn't take too many risks very early, and they were able to build a good foundation to their innings. Unfortunately, 2 of the guys didn't carry on. It was Kusal Pereira, who got a big half century and who really was responsible for Sri Lanka getting to 200.
Right, what does that mean for you? Kusal Pereira now the fixed opener for Sri Lanka going forward?
Should be. I mean, if he's batted in these conditions, I think Afghanistan were not at the best with the ball. I think they'll let Sri Lanka off here, to be honest.
Where do you think they faltered then at that time?
Just didn't get the length right. I think on a helpful pitch, that's the first thing you need to start getting right. You need to find out what the right line and length is for that particular pitch. I mean, you can't expect to just bowl the ball and things to happen. I think they gave far too many runs for the conditions that were on offer, especially when you win the toss, bowl first. And clearly, I mean, you could see the shortcomings today in these conditions, whether it's with the ball. I mean, Nabi got them back in the game. That's why it looks a lot better. Otherwise, they would have had a lot more to chase. And with the bat, clearly. I mean, as soon as the ball started doing a bit, there was a bit more pace and bounce. They've got to find a different way of playing. I don't think they can just keep depending on their slow bowlers to win them games, because there's a chance they might get these conditions again.
All right, final comment there from Tilakratne Dilshan. Dilshan, we spoke about the 2 bowlers that got the most wickets for Sri Lanka in Lasith Malinga and Nuwan Pradeep. But I just want to talk about that one dismissal that Udana got. He got the man in form, Rehmat Shah, for Afghanistan. Do you like the way he set him up, bowling in that 4th, 5th stump line? He continuously kept bowling there, got an inside edge one and then got him caught in the slip. So just the way that entire dismissal was set up.
I think he's really bowled his spell, especially in the new ball, he's bowled really well. He set up his ball right length and he got the bounce as well. I think he's set up really nicely to take that wicket. I think that is also important wicket. He's going really well. He's a number 3 batsman. He's batting really well throughout the innings. I think that's an important wicket. Isrudana doing really well. From the last game to this game also, he's more improved. He bowled line and length. He got the bounce. He do a variation. I think it's a good move as well, Surudana.
All right, thanks so much for your thoughts, Tilakratne Dilshan, Ajit Agarkar and Daren Ganga. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have for you at the moment. Initially, before the game started, both captains were of the opinion that if we bat 50 overs, we're going to win this match. Neither team batted 50 overs. That is also because it was a rain-shortened game. But then, because Sri Lanka batted a little more than Afghanistan did, that is why they ended up on the winning side. You also expected a lot of help there for the bowlers with the conditions that were on offer in Cardiff. Anyway, Sri Lanka is up and running in this World Cup, registering their first win. Can't say the same for Afghanistan. There are 2 losses out of the 2 games that they've played so far. You are watching ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. Thanks so much for joining us.